Resident Producers Program. The program content is the sole responsibility of the producer and does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of Oshkosh Media, the City of Oshkosh, or Time Warner Cable.
Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of Eye on Oshkosh. I'm your host Cheryl Hentz. Very happy to have you joining us tonight, and I'm very pleased to welcome two new guests to the show. They've never been on before in all the years we've been doing this. Very, very happy to have them. To my right is Deb Martin. She is a co-organizer of an event that's coming up in the next week or so on human trafficking, sex trafficking, something we've heard very much about in the news lately, and so she's going to be here to talk about that. And to my left is Pam Henkel. I pronounced that right? Okay. And Pam is the co-organizer of this event, and so they are both here tonight to talk to us about the event and trafficking in general and that kind of thing. And then we're going to take a short break, and guess what? They're going to be here for the second half of the show too, and we're going to be talking about, we're going to wrap things up on kind of a fun note. We're going to be talking about Toastmasters, and if you're not aware of what Toastmasters is, that's all the more reason for you to stay tuned for the second half of the show. But don't leave us now, because we want to talk about a very serious topic, and that is sex trafficking, human trafficking. So thanks to both of you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
On a cold, dreary Thursday night. Rainy and everything else. So we'll talk about the event that you have coming up, but first, what made the two of you kind of decide to step up and get involved in organizing an event on trafficking?
For me, last year I went to an event in Green Bay on human sex trafficking. I really didn't know very much at all, but it intrigued me, and I went to that event and I thought, oh my word, it's such a problem on Highway 41, and I thought we need to do something like this in Oshkosh. But I didn't know who to contact. I'm newer to Oshkosh, just been here about 2.5 years, so it was heavy on my heart what to do. And then I talked to Pam, and she was really on board with wanting to do so. Tell your story about why.
Sure.
Well, I was a foster parent for 30 years, and some of the kids, the parents were selling the kids, and I had thought of it as just abuse. It is abuse, but I hadn't thought of it as trafficking. Well, then I was at an EAA restaurant, and I saw these girls going in and out, and they were dressed way different, and I didn't recognize them. I had gone up to one of the girls, and I said, "Are you new to the area?" And she goes, "Oh, we were bussed in." Still not thinking sex trafficking, I was thinking prostitution. Well, then Deb and I got together and decided we were going to do something about it, and the more we studied it, the more we got involved into it, the more we figured out, hey, this is sex trafficking being brought in. So we got our heads together, formed a group with other ladies, and it's just blossomed.
Sure. Well, you know, I think a lot of us who live in this community and other bedroom type, sleeper type communities like Oshkosh, where it's a pretty high quality of life, relatively low crime, we don't think of it as happening in our backyards. And yet, over the last maybe year or so, we've seen more and more popping up on the news. And I don't think a week goes by that now we don't see something on our local news or in our local newspaper or radio or what have you about trafficking. You said something, though, they looked different when you saw them. Tell us what you mean by that. How did they look?
Well, I had worked in the high schools and the schools in Oshkosh, and you kind of know with foster kids how they would dress. But these girls, I mean, with the big spiked heels and the glittery makeup, they were just, and they looked like they might be 12, 13, 14 years old. None of them looked old enough to be in that bar. Mm-hmm. So just out of place. You wouldn't see someone dressed like that walking around the streets here.
And so when you thought about bust in and you thought about prostitution, you really were pretty close on the mark.
Right.
Because that is what trafficking is. It's just not prostitution with people who are of age.
Right. A lot of younger ones.
And so in the last year or so, I have done, I think this is my third or fourth show on trafficking. But for people who may not have seen it, or for someone who still may be a little bit confused as to what trafficking is, we hear the terms sex trafficking and we hear the term human trafficking. They are sometimes used interchangeably, and yet they can be a little bit different. So whoever wants to tell us how they're different, what each means.
My understanding is when we say human trafficking, that includes sex trafficking, but it also includes people that are just taken against their will and held to do jobs. It could be here in Oshkosh, it could be working on a dairy farm. It could be someone who's working in a nail salon. They're really kept against their will doing work for basically no pay or very small pay, and they might be moved around. So they could be in Oshkosh today, they might be in Green Bay tomorrow, they might be in Minnesota, or they might stay in one place for a given amount of time. But it's really people coerced to do whatever type of work against their will, and kept in really bad conditions.
So I'm trying to envision this. Someone goes into a hair salon or a nail salon, and we're not just picking on those industries. It could be anywhere, as Deb just said. But since she raised those examples, I'll continue to use them. So we need to be clear that not everyone in those salons is being trafficked.
Right.
How would someone, I'm trying to figure this out, and maybe you can help me. Maybe it's getting a little too deep into the issue and you don't know the answer. But how would someone be a trafficking victim in, say, a nail salon? Would it be the employer who's trafficking them? Or,
yes.
Okay.
In this, so we have worked with quite a few groups. The good thing is there's many groups in our area that are working to alleviate this or to stop this from happening, including our police forces. One of the groups mentioned that not all people doing nails are trafficked. I'm not saying that, but they could be kept in a room in the big city, say New York City or Chicago or Milwaukee, and they're just given one pot to fix some meals in, and it's a 24-hour kind of a thing, and they have to get up if people come in the middle of the night and do work, and they aren't really allowed to leave that area. They've got a room to sleep in, and then they do nails, and that's basically what happens to them. An example here in Appleton, the next town to us, there are called Asian massage parlors, and I've been told by one of our organizations that we would like to encourage the city council, the people that live in Appleton, to have those massage parlors to get a license, because that would allow the police to come in at any time and check out the situation, because they do believe in Appleton that is one place, the Asian massage parlors. I don't know of any specific thing like that exactly in Oshkosh at this time.
Yeah. So that's interesting that massage parlors apparently do not have to be licensed in Appleton?
Apparently not these.
Okay.
I go to a person that gives me a massage. I don't consider it a massage parlor. I mean, there's again lots of people I know who are massage therapists. I'm not speaking of that at all.
Right. Massage therapists and massage parlors
totally
are
different.
very different things, like black and white. They're oil and water. They don't come together well at all.
No, no.
So, yeah, okay. All right, so, you know, like I said, we've been doing shows like this. In fact, the very first time I think you and I talked, and we've been talking for a while,
right?
Trying to figure out a time to meet, and our schedules, you know, they just haven't jived. And so this is the first time we're actually meeting that we've talked for, what, about a year and a half already?
Yeah, I was going to say a year and a half.
And and it started primarily because you were new to the area. You'd seen some of the shows, and thank you for the nice compliments about the show. And then we started talking about trafficking. And
yeah, because of Damascus Road.
Yes.
Being a local group that we really want to support the work that they're doing. They are very low budget. They can always use monetary and even help in many ways. But yeah, they're one of the groups that will be at our event that we have coming up. So we're glad to be supporting them too, to help people understand get awareness.
Now, Pam, I want to go back to something else that you had said with foster families. Some of the foster parents, trafficking, I'll call them charges, if you will, the children that are put into their homes.
No, it's the bio parents, the biological parents.
The biological parents. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that, because I thought, wait, how? Because my question was going to be, how is that working when you've got counties involved?
No, it was the biological. And they're taken out of the home, and
they're removed from the home. Okay, all right. Thank you. That makes a whole lot of sense, though that eliminates my question. So, but that's okay too. We've got lots of other questions. So there's an event coming up, and I believe it is on November 11th.
Yes. Saturday, November 11th.
And so this show, I will just say, is going to start airing before the event. If you are listening to us on the radio, I will be giving very explicit instructions on what to do, numbers, a Facebook page where you can go to register, all this kind of stuff. So you may want to get a pen and paper handy, whether you're watching us on TV or you are listening to us on the radio. So tell us about the event on November 11th. It's from what time to what time?
It's from 8 a.m. to noon. It's at All Saints Lutheran Church, which is on Honey Creek, on Highway 21 on the way to Amro. Probably a mile past the hospital, going out that way. And we have many local groups, including the Oshkosh Police Department. We'll be having Damascus Road, as I said, Reach Counseling, Christine Ann Domestic Abuse Center, Franciscan Peacemakers. They're from Milwaukee, and they do intervention work with women who are on the streets.
Okay.
They'll be coming to talk, and
Sister Celine.
And from the Green Bay area. She's a Catholic nun who has been working to stop trafficking for years and years and years. What a woman of faith, and what a woman who really has a heart for helping and intervening in this. Another group that we've gotten to know is Five Stones in Appleton, and we're going to be showing, they have a new movie out, and it's really a documentary that shows in we've seen it a couple times now, explaining how a young girl, because the target age is 12 to 14, can get sucked in by an older man, an older guy, to come into this business, even against her will. And then they show from the guy's, the pimp's perspective, and lastly they show from the girl's friend's perspective. And they're want to use this as a prevention tool, so that it can be shown to younger people, teenagers, so that they know the signs, because they can protect themselves and their friends from even getting involved in this. So we're excited to be showing that as well. Sure.
So again, it's on Saturday, November 11th from 8 to noon at All Saints Lutheran Church, which is at 1072. It's on your screen right now, but for those viewers, or rather those listeners on the radio, All Saints Lutheran Church, I'll say it a couple of times, 1072 Honey Creek Road, here in Oshkosh. And again, if you're going out Highway 21, it will be a little ways before what is that road?
Just past Oakwood. There's a
Just- okay,
stoplight
there you
at
go.
Oakwood,
Just past
and it's
Oakwood.
just past there on the right.
Okay, all right. Just past Oakwood, that's a good way to, because I was trying to think of another street out there, and for some reason it was just escaping me. And you know, you've got a poster, if we can see that again up on the screen, and for those who are listening on the radio, it says, no one can do everything, but everyone can do something, or everyone can do at least one thing. And the one thing, if nothing else, they should attend this event. To learn more, besides watching the film and hearing about trafficking, what else will people learn at this event?
We've put together, we've got our packets here on the table right now, so we've got a lot of takeaways for people, so with information too, so they don't have to remember everything that's
Sure.
said to them. And we have some follow-up events happening too after our event. Damascus Road is doing a presentation at the First Congregational Church here in Oshkosh the Wednesday on November 15th at 5 p.m. And Five Stones is doing a couple presentations also. And Reach Counseling is doing a presentation on campus on November 30th. So we want to give people an opportunity who come that day to tell their friends and bring some other people, or also if you can't come on November 11th, that there are other opportunities as well.
Sure.
And we will have those on the Facebook page. We also highlight all the different groups that we're supporting on that page too, so people can know, I want to support Christine Ann, what kinds of things might they need? You can go to their Facebook page as well, but
Sure.
also we'll have some information on our page to help people.
Okay, and I know that if you're asking for people to, I think, sign up by the 5th of November, correct?
I do have that on there, but we will, I mean, anyone can come.
Sure.
We're just not sure that we've made enough packets, but we hopefully have. So the
Sure.
only reason to sign up was to make sure you could get a packet to take
Okay.
home. But certainly, you can, anyone is welcome to come that day.
Okay, so, but ideally, you'd like people to sign up if they can.
Yes.
They
And to do that, they can go to Facebook and do it through there. You would just go to Facebook and look at, type in Help Stop Human Trafficking Oshkosh. And I believe we have that we can put up on the screen also. There it is.
And also
again, for-
Eventbrite.
Okay.
Eventbrite, you just put 11/11/17 Oshkosh, and it will come up.
Okay, so eventbrite.com, 11/11/17, Oshkosh. Okay, all right. So again, for people listening on the radio, go to eventbrite.com and then type in 11/11/17, which is the date of this event, Oshkosh. So 11/11/17 Oshkosh, and that will come up. Or you can go to Facebook and type in Help Stop Human Trafficking Oshkosh. And if you're listening to this on the radio or watching this on TV and you didn't quite get it, send me an email at ionoshkosh@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to get you the information. I just want to talk a little bit more about this particular event. You've got some other folks who are involved in this from different organizations, some of whom have been on this show before. I see that you've got someone from LOPPW, which is a group out of Madison.
Yes.
And the advisory board member for that is Mary Bakken, or Mary Ellen Bakken, as I knew her, because she used to go
Yes.
to, or she probably still is at the church that I used to go to. But we've had two people, I believe, from LOPPW on the show before. In fact, I think that might have been the very first trafficking show that I did.
Wow. Yeah.
I had a pastor come up from Madison.
Madison. Yeah,
Yep.
Pastor Cindy Crane.
Yes.
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 Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there may have been another person with her. I can't remember. You know, you do so many of these shows, and you can remember subjects, you can remember kind of names, but damn if I can remember how many guests I have on a show sometimes. So, but I'm not familiar with Sister Celine, is it Gossel? Gessel,
Yes.
her last
Yes.
name? Tell me about her. You said she's been working in trafficking for a long time.
Yeah, she really has, and we've met with her. She's even come to Oshkosh to meet with us about this event. I heard her speak in Green Bay when I went to that trafficking event. they've just opened a home in Brown County for some trafficked women. It's very modest. I want to say
10 or 11.
10 or 11 beds.
Yes.
She's been working hard on that. And she's also connected with the Sisters for the Sorrowful Mother here in Oshkosh.
Okay.
That group, I'm sorry, I don't know exactly how it all connects for the Catholics, but human trafficking is something that the social statements of the Catholic Church are very much working on and very much want to stop, and so it's nice to see, and I'm sure other churches are too. I know the Lutheran Office of Public Policy in Wisconsin, that's one of our, I'm on the board for that too, one of our main things we want to work on as well. So it's nice to have interconnections of people, but it isn't just churches, it's everyday people.
Yeah.
You don't have to belong to a church to care about this issue, but it's nice to have those connections and linkages, and we're not starting anything from scratch. We want people to just know what already is happening in our community and the ways that we as citizens here can make our community safer for our children and safer for the people that come to see us here.
So I know that you rattled off a couple of events coming up after the one on November 11th. One you said was at First Congregational Church in Oshkosh, which is 137 Algoma Boulevard in Oshkosh, kind of kitty corner from the Christine Ann Center. If people can't make these different events, and by the way, are the rest of these events on your Facebook page?
They will be tonight if they're not.
Okay.
I'm not sure
so
if I
by
got
the
them on
time
there,
the
but
show
they will.
airs,
Yes.
they will be
They will
on
be
the
there.
website.
Yeah, they will.
Or on the Facebook page, I should say. Do you have a website or no?
We do not.
Okay.
We were being very low budget here.
Okay.
We will take a free will offering at the event, and any money that we get, we'll be dividing it up to these organizations.
Okay.
We're not a group that's forming, or there's plenty of them already around. We did get some grant money from First English Lutheran Church and from the women of the ELCA in our Northeast Synod, who sponsored the Green Bay event that we've been. They gave us money too. So we're using that for printing, for any expenses. So the offering will be going then to help to support the organizations that already are here.
Okay, all right, good. And are you a nonprofit organization, or have you not attained that status yet?
We are. All of our money is being handled by First English Lutheran Church.
Okay, so if someone makes a financial donation and they want to deduct it on their taxes,
yes,
they can do that,
Yes.
and they'll be given a receipt.
Yes.
for their
Yes, we
donation.
actually have receipts printed up so that
Okay.
we'll give them at the event. But if anyone can't come and wants to make a donation this way, yeah, the church they're just handling it as a separate account in their with their financial secretary.
Okay.
So that we didn't want to spend any extra money than we had to
Well, no,
for this.
I think that's an honorable thing, you know. When you're working with low budgets and so forth, you got to be good stewards of the money that you have, you know, and think of ways outside of the box to make things work. So, so if someone can't make all these other events, what things do you want them to know about trafficking and how they can help?
Go ahead.
People that I've talked to in Oshkosh basically don't believe it's happening here. Just start watching, open your eyes, and if you hear of it, if a child tells you, I'm being used that way, just report it. Be a reporter. Don't turn away and say, oh no, it don't happen here. That's a big thing I'm hearing. And the people we've talked to said, well, maybe in Green Bay, but not in Oshkosh. Yes, it is in Oshkosh. We're working with 2 wonderful police officers, and it is in Oshkosh. They will be at the event Saturday. So if they can't make any of these, they can go on the Facebook page, they can contact us, we'll get them a packet. In the packet, it's going to have different places you can go and different things you can see, books you can read, movies you can watch. So they can get hold of us, and we will get them a packet and information they need.
Sure. And go ahead.
So one thing I would say too, that the police said, if you see something that looks suspicious to you, call 911. That's what the Oshkosh police have told us. Do not ever approach.
No.
Do not ever approach or intervene.
No.
It is not safe for you or for the girl. You may in your best intention to want to help someone, but that is not the safe thing to do. You tell the police, because there are only a few of them. We need to be the eyes and the ears to help the police department, but we need to leave those things up to them to do.
Sure.
the other thing is to contact if you do belong to a church, that's a good place because, as I said, the Catholics have a great network of information. The Lutherans do, and I am in the congregation, First Congregational. I'm sure that others do as well. Not to leave anyone out. We've contacted all the churches in Oshkosh. So if you want to know more, and all the groups that are going to be there, they're on our Facebook page. Contact one of them. Just start to learn something. Pick one. Pray.
Sure.
There's lots of information out there. Educate yourself. There's the documentaries to watch, and get a group of people together, and yeah, we'll help you in any way that we can.
Sure. And I know also that all someone has to do if they really want to start researching some of this, the internet is such a wonderful resource. It has its bad things, but we're going to use it for a good thing here with the sex trafficking and human trafficking. And I know when I started doing research for the very first show that I did on this, I just did a Google search or whatever search, maybe it was a Bing search, I don't know. I did a search for human trafficking, and I came up with some of the top organizations that focus on this issue.
Yeah.
And there are maps that show, where trafficking events happen, and then further statistics, and I think you'd be amazed at what you'd find. So,
can I say one more thing too?
Sure, very quickly.
The state of Wisconsin has done a great job. There's bills before the legislature. So go to the state of Wisconsin website, has some great posters and other information there too. So they may be infighting and think not everything I like necessarily going on in the state, but this is one area where our state is doing some great things.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. So again, the event is on Saturday, November 11th. Go to Facebook and type in, when you get to the Facebook page, Stop Human Trafficking Oshkosh. Help Stop Human Trafficking Oshkosh. And so hopefully you'll be able to check something out. We're going to take a very short break now, and then we'll come back and we're going to lighten the mood and talk about something more fun. We'll be right back.
If you have expired or unused medication, don't flush it, pour it down the drain, or toss it in the trash. Safely dispose of unwanted or expired medications at the drug drop box located inside the Oshkosh Police Department. It's convenient and anonymous, safe and secure, and it's open to everyone 24/7. Drop off your prescriptions, over-the-counter drugs, pet meds, and more. Keep drugs out of the reach of children and out of our water supply. Dispose of unwanted or expired medications at the drug drop box. For more information, visit the Oshkosh Police Department website at oshkoshpd.com.
Looking to give back to the community? Want to help fight hunger in the Oshkosh area? You can by donating food, your time, or your money. The Oshkosh Area Community Pantry needs more than 250 volunteers to operate and can always use new faces to help with a wide variety of tasks. The pantry cannot do it without you. Please consider helping fight hunger in Oshkosh. For more information, visit us online at oacptoday.org. That's oacptoday.org.
It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. It's said that a narrow vision is divisive, a broad vision expansive, but a divine vision is all-inclusive. Welcome all groups of citizens working for the greater good of the community. Speak your piece and be inclusive. The Oshkosh Civility Project is a community-based effort. More information at oshkoshcivilityproject.org.
And welcome back to the second half of Eye on Oshkosh. And before we move in to the second part of our show, the ladies said they had one other quick thing they wanted to say about their Help Stop Trafficking event coming up on November 11th. So there's another organization that's involved.
Voices of Men will also be there present. just letting people know it's not just women and girls. There are boys that are being exploited too. So they will also be present at the event.
And it's not just women and faith communities who are trying to stop this. You mentioned that there's a group of truckers they're getting a bill. I don't know if they're actually doing it, but there's a bill being put forward in our state legislature regarding truck drivers because they see...
To get them trained.
Yeah,
new drivers to get trained. And there is a website, Truckers Against Trafficking. It's
Truckers
a national,
Against Trafficking.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a national organization. So, Voices of Men too is speaking out to train boys and how we speak, because it isn't just a women's issue. We need our men to speak up and be advocates on behalf of stopping this.
Okay.
So they're good.
Okay, very good. Well, speaking of speaking, now we're going to segue into the more fun, more light aspect of our show. You ladies are both involved in something called Toastmasters, and I promised at the outset of the first segment that this was going to be something. If you've never heard of Toastmasters, you should stay tuned, and I hope that you still have. And if you're hearing me, then you have. So, so that's a good thing. So I've heard of Toastmasters for years. There used to be a Toastmasters for the men and Toastmistresses for the women. And that goes to show how far back. I'm a little bit familiar with Toastmasters as a general kind of umbrella organization. But I assume that now that we're into a politically correct era, there is no longer a Toastmistresses.
Right.
Is it just Toastmasters, and it's men and women together?
Right.
Okay, so for someone who is not at all familiar with Toastmasters, there's an organization. You can go to Toastmasters. Is it .org?
.org.
Okay, Toastmasters.org, and we're going to be putting that address on the screen. And if you're listening to us on the radio, Toastmasters.org. So tell us what Toastmasters is, what it does, that kind of thing.
I've been involved in Toastmasters myself about 12 years. What I've learned about it, so we're not making toast, and it's not about drinking and giving toasts at the wedding, though it is a way to improve your speaking. So if you do have to give a toast somewhere, you are much better prepared to do it. I've heard that in the top 5 fears that everyone has, one of them is speaking in public.
That's very true. People
sometimes
have
it's even more than death.
With that. Yeah.
And so many people that come to Toastmasters come because they are afraid of speaking, but they want to improve so they can get advancement in their job, or just do better in their job, or not be afraid when they get called on in school. Whatever the situation is, it's a safe place to practice. Over the years, I've gone to speaking seminars. You learn what people tell you to do, but really, you get better by practicing.
Sure, of course.
So Toastmasters, we meet twice a month. Almost all clubs do meet twice a month, usually for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And we take turns speaking. You sign up to give prepared speeches. We also have something called table topics. And that's where you are called on to give a 1 to 2 minute speech on something someone comes prepared and asks you to talk about. It could be the weather, it could be Halloween, it might be what's your favorite movie. You never know what it's going to be. And the reason we do that is we feel that that's what most speaking is about, right? Usually it's people asking you something and you don't have a prepared comeback for it.
Right, because you have no idea what they're going to say.
Exactly. So that's a preparation that happens almost every meeting in Toastmasters. We're doing those impromptu speaking. We also have roles in the meeting. We time. The thing I like about timing the speeches is it gets us to be more concise in what we have to say. We also have someone keeping track of our ums, ahs, ers, the filler words that many people use and that can just detract from the message you're trying to give. In Toastmasters, you can really speak about anything, so you learn so many interesting things from the other speakers, which is very fun. But what we do is give you a structure on how to give that talk better. I joined Toastmasters. I was already liking to talk, but I wanted to do it better. And one of my passions is hunger and reducing hunger. The thing that Toastmasters taught me was I was giving way too many facts and statistics and not enough stories and not enough short talks. I was just throwing stuff out at people, and it's not effective, and people aren't going to remember what you have to say. So it really has been a good place for me to be. The other reason people join Toastmasters sometimes is if English is a second language. I come from the Chicago area before I moved here to Oshkosh, and we would get a lot of people that were from another country, and it's a good place to practice your speaking ability. And I met people from all over the world that way, which is very fun. We have contests. All of Wisconsin and the upper UP is called District 35. We're District 35. So there's a convention this Saturday in Madison. So for the whole state and the UP, people will come from around the state. There's it's a humorous speech contest. I'm not a very funny person. You may have noticed that, and I haven't said too much humorous tonight.
Well, it was not a humorous topic.
No.
Right.
So,
but I did do this contest a couple of times, and I have over time learned to add a little humor to my talks where it's appropriate. So it's been fun. When you go to the humorous speech contest, you're hearing people that they've won their club contest, they won their area, they won their division, and now they're at district. So it's kind of fun to have that and to go to some workshops and meet people from around the state.
okay. And so you meet twice a month. Now, we heard how, or why I should say, you got involved in
Yeah.
Toastmasters more than a decade ago. What about you, Pam? What brought you to join Toastmasters? Because you've recently joined the one here in Oshkosh
Right.
that has just started.
Yes. I'm out volunteering in different places now, and I wanted to be able to speak effectively and take out those words, the ums. Going to some of the meetings I've listened to a lot of the people stand there and go, and I thought, okay, I need to learn how to speak better. And I talked to Deb about it, and she invited me to a meeting. And when I was there, I was surprised how easy it is to actually pick up on speaking and taking some of those words out, but it's going to take practice and a lot of time, and I want to learn to do it and not to be afraid, because that was one of my fears, is to get up and speak in front of people, and now I need to. And she's helped me a lot in that aspect, you know, especially testifying in Madison last week. A year ago, I probably would have not been able to do that. Now she's brought me along to that point. So.
Sure, sure.
Confidence. It gives you a lot of confidence.
Absolutely. And, you know, most people who are afraid of speaking, and I think, as you said, that's a lot of people. I don't know of too many people who just, well, I guess I've gotten to know more people over the years who enjoy speaking, but, you know, when I first started doing this show, I really didn't know of anybody offhand that I could, you know, if you had to say, Cheryl, tell me 5 people right now, offhand, off the top of your head, who enjoy public speaking, I don't know that I would have come up with anyone.
Yeah.
It is truly a major, major fear that people have. It's one of the top phobias, I think, as you said. So how many people are in this group that you have? I know you're new.
Right. So we have we're just started. We had our first meeting last week, and we have a meeting coming up on Thursday, November 16th. If that's a
Yes.
Thursday.
Yes.
I believe
That
it
is.
And we're meeting at the Ground Round
Okay.
on Main Street in the hotel at 4:30 p.m. We've been on UWO campus, so we want this to be a club that includes people who work in the community and also people at the university. We think it'll be a good matchup. There are Marian University in Fond du Lac just started a Toastmasters club, and they're also including people from the community. There's another club in Fond du Lac that meets at Moraine College.
So Moraine Park down in Fond du Lac? Okay.
So that's another, I used to belong to that club. So that's usually there's around 20 to 25 members in a club. Our club isn't up to that strength yet, so we're recruiting for new members. But people can join Toastmasters year-round.
Sure.
There's no one time to join. And the cost right now is $45 for 6 months. Every 6 months we pay a membership. And there's a $20 fee to start. But after that, it's $25 every 6 months. To pay to Toastmasters International, you get a magazine from there, and we get some of our information on booklets and to help us prepare speeches and that kind of thing. We also have a structure of leadership. So there's a president of the club, a vice president of education, of marketing, of let's see, what else am I missing? Membership, and a secretary and a treasurer
Okay.
for each club. So it's a leadership track and a speaking track. So it's a really good thing, especially for younger people. I wish I would have gotten involved in it in my 20s.
Sure, sure.
And so we're encouraging young people, but we also encourage any age. There's some old-timers like me that are in it too.
Sure. So if you have a fear of public speaking, but you want to try to overcome that fear, now is the time to join Toastmasters in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, because they have fewer members than the average group.
Yeah, you won't speak to that many people. And also, I put this on Eventbrite. So if they go to on eventbrite.com to 11/16/17 Oshkosh, you should come up with the Toastmasters meeting. I thought, where can I put it that most people could find it? So Eventbrite seems to be the answer for now. We will eventually have a website. We need a few more people to get that up and running.
Sure, sure. So again, whether you're watching or listening, that you go to eventbrite.com, Eventbrite, and it's BRITE,
Right.
not the other way. So BRITE.com, 11/16/17 Oshkosh. I was getting it confused with the other event on Eventbrite. So 11/16/17 Oshkosh, and that is where you would go to register.
Well, you don't even need to register
just
there,
to
but
get
just to know
information?
about it.
Okay,
Remind
all
you
right.
that it's going to be at the Ground Round at 4:30.
Okay.
At
And
that
where in
point-
the Ground Round? Because that's a pretty big restaurant.
They
So-
have a separate room for meetings.
Okay.
It's just towards the back of the restaurant.
Okay.
There, yeah. They were nice enough to let us meet there. And whether we'll meet at that exact time or that exact place ongoing, that'll be up to the group as we're forming.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, that's our next meeting time.
Sure, sure. So, I think people are probably, if they haven't heard of Toastmasters, I'm sure that most people have heard of Dale Carnegie. How does Toastmasters differ from Dale Carnegie? Because they're kind of trying to do the same thing.
Yes. So I've been to the Dale Carnegie course a couple of times when I was working in Iowa. And I loved it. Great opportunity. Dale Carnegie it's pretty expensive. My company I was working for at the time paid for it. So there's quite a large investment of money in it. It worked really well because we were all working at the company, and so we got a lot of shared understanding and knowledge at the same time. And they do have you practice some speeches. So if you've done Dale Carnegie, it's somewhat the same. This is way lower cost at Toastmasters. And there are community clubs like the one we're forming. And there's also clubs that are for companies. Like Kimberly-Clark has a Toastmasters club. Oshkosh Corporation started a Toastmasters club last year. But those are what we call closed clubs. They're just for people who work at those companies.
Okay.
There's some of the insurance companies, like Thrivent has a Toastmasters club. But the community clubs are the ones that anyone can join to pay that fee. And you can visit anytime without actually joining if you want to. It's not a requirement.
Okay. And are your meetings always on the, let's see, what is that?
That's a
That's
Thursday.
the third Thursday of the month?
Yeah.
Are they always on the third Thursday? Well, you said you meet twice a month.
Right.
So,
So it'd be the first and third Thursday.
okay. Well, that lets me out.
But here's the
Because I'm
thing.
here.
Yeah.
So-
Well, if we get people coming that say, Thursday isn't so good for me. What about if we change it to another day? Or 4:30 isn't good. Could we make it 4? Or could we make it 5? We're in the beginning stages, so we are open
Sure,
to that,
sure.
depending on who shows up
And
and
how-
who gives us their input.
And how long do your meetings typically last?
About an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, usually an hour and a half. And if we meet in a restaurant like we are, we'll encourage people to have a food or a beverage while they're there, but it's not a requirement.
No.
Okay. So I realize you've just learned, and I don't want to put you on the spot.
Okay.
But what have you learned so far? Or you've only been to what, one
One
meeting?
meeting.
So,
I didn't realize how organized they were, and I didn't realize when you're done with your speech, even when they put you on the spot, like what's your favorite Halloween story was one they did. Afterwards, they give you the feedback in a positive way, like how you stand, how you would be wiggling or walking back and forth. That was, to me, great pointers. and the words to tell you how many times you said whatever. It's kind of like, you don't have to be a public speaker to learn how to speak properly, but if you're just going to be even at a PTO meeting and you want to stand up and speak, it's nice if you would learn or get there and learn how to do this. But it's very organized and very encouraging. They're so I was really impressed with that part.
Sure, sure. So do people then, are you speaking, you're standing up and speaking in front of the entire group?
Yes.
And then at some point, do you break up into smaller groups? I realize right now, your smaller group would probably be the same size as the large group, but, you know, once you do grow larger, will there be smaller group activities then within
Usually
the
not.
same meeting?
No.
Okay.
So I guess that would be different from Dale Carnegie. We would break up sometimes in that. You usually stay with the whole group. But at any given meeting, not everyone brings a prepared speech. You sign up ahead of time. And we usually have 3 or 4 speakers that will give a prepared speech, which is usually 5 to 7 minutes. They're not really long. And it can be on really any topic that you choose. And then one segment will be the table topics, which will probably be 10 or 15 minutes of the meeting as well. And then there'll be some club business of things that we just need to share, what our financial situation is and that kind of thing. So but the important part is the evaluations.
Yes.
After someone's given a prepared speech, someone else has been chosen ahead of time to be their evaluator, and they will get up and give a 2 to 3 minute talk about that speech and give feedback on, great introduction, you really grabbed me on that. You could beef up your conclusion. You know, I like, one of the things I say is never say thank you when you've given a speech. The audience is thanking you for having been the speaker. Or Pam gave some good examples of things we might tell someone about their particular speech, or have good eye contact or that kind of thing. So there's immediate feedback, and then everyone else gets a little slip of paper and they give feedback too, like, I liked what you had to say, or I had a question about this, or whatever they might want to tell that person too, and we hand those in to people.
Okay. Now, see, I would think that it would be okay to say thank you as a sort of summation or closing, because you're thanking them for giving you their attention.
So here's the thought, that last words linger. There's to me, a famous speaker, Patricia Fripp, and I found her from Toastmasters. She's not in Toastmasters now, but anyway, one of her things is last words linger. So when you're giving a speech, the first thing you say should grab the audience attention, and the last thing you say you want them to remember. The last thing you say should be the second most powerful sentence you give.
The second most powerful?
Yes, the first is your first statement. The first thing you say.
Could they ever be both?
Sure, you can repeat, yes.
Okay.
It could be the same sentence, yes.
I'm just kind
And that's a
of
good
twirling
thing.
this all around in my head here, because you do have to sort of change your mindset a little bit. Because I know I've given, not necessarily speeches, but I've talked before, and I've always thanked people for, you know, not just, you know, I've been a guest there, so I thank them, and you know, thank you for having me, and thank you for
So thank them
your
earlier
attention.
in your speech.
Okay.
Even thank them at the beginning. We'll start out with whatever, so what we do in Toastmasters, start out with your powerful sentence. Have you ever been, whatever thing you want to say, and then a couple sentences in say, thank you for, I'm glad to be here, whatever you want to say in the thank you. At the end, if you want the audience to ask some questions or give you feedback, don't end with their questions. Let them have those minutes of whatever audience participation, but then you say the last thing. You give the summary, that last statement that you want people to remember. It could be about ending hunger, as I mentioned. It might be about human trafficking, get more information on human trafficking. Stop. So the last thing they heard was that. All those other things are important, you know, just to make that a little more powerful in the presentation. That is the kind of thing that we talk about.
So if someone wants to come just to see what you do, are they required to get up and speak at all? Okay, so no need to be afraid about that, folks.
Right.
Go and check it out and just kind of get your feet wet a little bit and see what you think.
We may say, give us some feedback, what did you think? we'll ask for their name, you know, how they may have heard about us, but we won't expect someone to have to get up and give a speech their first visit.
Sure, or even participate in the little table talk.
Right,
They
right.
can, they
They
can
don't have
just
to do that.
sit back, relax. And when you're thinking about public speaking, relaxing is the biggest part of it all, I think. So they can just know ahead of time that they're going to go, they're just going to sit back, relax, enjoy, be open to learning something new, and taking it all in, and then making a decision.
Right.
So what's the membership process like? Do you pay the dues online? Do you pay them at a meeting? How does that work?
Go ahead.
Well, I went to the first meeting and I wanted to watch, and I was impressed with it, but I wanted to go home and think it over and make sure I was thinking. So then I went back. Well, I was there twice.
The second meeting. Mhm.
Yeah, the second meeting I went back and then I gave her a check and signed in.
An application form.
The application form. And, you know, I wanted to, you don't have to just go there and say, okay, I'm paying, I'm going to be in, you know. You decide and you think it over. And I just like the idea that I can be educated in this.
Sure. Now, this is our first Toastmasters in Oshkosh. You were saying that, was it Appleton, that has 3 or 4 of them?
Appleton has at least 4 clubs.
Okay.
Fond du Lac has 2. Green Bay, Kohler, Waukesha, a lot in Milwaukee, quite a few in Madison. So, yeah,
Now,
clubs around.
if the 4 or 5 in Appleton, are they all open, or are they some of those
Some of them are closed.
Okay.
So I belong to what's called Fox Speaks, so FOX Speaks, and that club meets at a Festival Foods in Neenah twice a month. They have a really nice meeting room about this Festival Foods. It is awesome.
Wow, I've never heard of that.
No, but it's good. Then there's a meeting at the Fox Valley Tech that meets at noon, and then the others are like the Kimberly Clark, Thrivent. Those are closed clubs. Oh, there's one more called Midday Alliance. That's a women's organization. You belong to that organization, and they have a Toastmasters group.
Okay.
So they meet at noon as well. And I'm what's called the area director, so I have all 6 of those clubs in Appleton, and the ones in Oshkosh now are mine to
Wow,
be
you really are
responsible for.
heavily involved
am.
in this, aren't you?
Yes.
But that's the structure of Toastmasters. So when you have a new club, people help you. There's sponsors and mentors and that kind of thing. That we don't just want people to come in to be a member. We want people to have a good experience when they're here.
Sure. And so you've been, you know, a participant in this and a leader in this for some time. How have you seen people change, i.e. grow, over the years? Can you give us a couple examples without giving names?
Yeah, that's been fabulous to watch. That is the best thing ever. A woman came to my last club because I was in the Chicago area, and she was terrified to speak, but she had a passion about hunger. And she was from the Philippines, and she really wanted to be able to give her message of how people could help to reduce hunger. And she wanted to be able to eventually go back to the Philippines and do this kind of work. And to see her improve, I helped her. I was one of her coaches or mentor through her first speeches. The improvement was it was so fun to see. That we say it helps you find your voice, because everyone has inside of them the stories and the things that they want to talk about.
Sure.
It's so fun to see when they're finally able to do it. We had another lady, she was so terrified to speak that when she would hold onto the podium and she would shake. It would literally shake. And she stayed with us for a couple of years, and every now and then she'd get up and talk a little bit. She left our club because she got a promotion and moved.
Wow.
So a lot of people will eventually leave Toastmasters because they get a promotion at work, and they either are moved or just don't have time now. So that's pretty cool, because people can bring their work presentation and talk a portion of it, and we can give them feedback. I had a lady, Oshkosh Corporation, was giving a part of one of her speeches, and she started out saying, now I'm a little nervous about this, and so my feedback to her was, don't say that. Never say that to the people I said, you gave a smooth presentation, you're going to do a great job tomorrow. So it was good to just be able to encourage people that they've really got it, and whatever we can do to help them. That's the cool thing that Toastmasters has over even Dale Carnegie or anything else, is that ongoing support for people to just say, you can do this.
Sure. Well, I can see how, I mean, obviously when someone's writing, they're not putting in the ums and the ands and things. I mean, unless the word and is required in a sentence, of course. But I think that some people, I know I catch myself throwing in or and or whatever. And I think sometimes it's to make it seem a little bit more natural. More conversational or what have you, but I think that this could possibly even improve someone's writing skills, because making things more succinct, making them more to the point, maybe bringing a stronger point forward at the beginning rather than in the middle or possibly even at the end or what have you. So I think from that standpoint it would even be a good thing. We're down to about 3.5, 4 minutes here. Is there any age limit as to how old someone can be, or if there's a teenager out there who's interested in this, can they join, or is there an age requirement?
Yeah, well, usually they're high school graduate before you're joining Toastmasters. But we do have something called Speechcraft. Okay. That is something that Toastmasters can take to a school and put on about a 6-week, 1 hour, 2 hour course on how for public speaking, which can be kind of fun. So we do encourage, if there's to help in the community, as a way to go into a school and do a process of helping them do public speaking.
Is it something that you're working with the Oshkosh Area School District on?
Not at this point, but we could. We certainly could. I just reached out to one of the schools because during Project Curb, I talked to a teacher, an 8th grade teacher, and I mentioned I was in Toastmasters, and we got on that conversation. She said, "Oh, that sounds pretty good." So we'll see if that works out. But at any time, any given Toastmasters club could do something like that.
Sure. When you say the word Toastmasters, Deb, do you find that people typically know what you're talking about, or are they like, what? What is that?
Lots of people still don't know, and it's been around, to your point,
a long time.
In I want to say 1930s. I don't know exactly. I'm not that old.
That predates me as well, but
a long time.
But it has been around for a long time, for sure.
And yeah, and I think women weren't given full status, I want to say, in the late 70s, or sometime in the 1970s, then women were considered part of Toastmasters. Before that, they had their own separate portion. So I would know. A lot of people don't know what Toastmasters is, and I don't know how we break that. We just do that some people at a time. I think we need to I should mention that in Wisconsin, Governor Walker declared this month, November, to be Toastmasters month.
Oh.
Because we are having our state convention, the fall convention, in Madison this Saturday, November 4th, which you do need to be registered for. That's not necessarily open, but we do have some kind of fun conventions. Well, a couple years ago, it was here in Oshkosh at the convention center.
Okay. And as a member, I mean, I'm sure you're not required to go to the conventions.
No.
If you can't go, you can't go, right?
Right.
So, okay. What final thoughts do you want to share about Toastmasters?
Check them out. And Toastmasters is international. We're in over 100 countries. Can't remember. I think it might be even 120. I don't remember now. We have an international convention every year. This year it's going to be in Chicago in August. This coming one will be in Chicago. A couple years ago, I went to the international convention in Las Vegas, and it was a good time. And I was in Chicago, in the Chicago club at the time, and our speaker won the international. That's a huge. If you go to YouTube video and look up some Toastmasters best speeches, you'll be amazed. They're
right?
They're really great.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Pam, Deb, for being here, both for enlightening us about your trafficking event coming up on November 11th. And our time is up, but thank you also for telling us about Toastmasters and your event, your next meeting on the 16th. So thanks to both of you again. Thanks to the crew. Most of all, thanks to you at home. We'll see you next time. Until then, take good care. Keep your eye on us. We've got our eye on Oshkosh.